Chris Gironda.
Yes, sir.
From Tetracube. That was an awesome performance.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
so
for
for all our listeners, just give us a little bit of history about you. I know, I've seen you perform. We've almost shared a stage before.
Yeah.
Didn't actually end up happening.
Yeah, we've had to have crossed paths at one point at Brooklyn Bowl or something
Yep.
like that. So Tetracube is a relatively new project for me.
When did you release for the first time with Tetracube?
The first release wasn't until October, actually, but I've been producing...
October 2020.
Yeah, October 2020. Yeah. So it was very much a quarantine project. My main thing is I have a band called Space Bacon. Some of you guys might know about. We've been playing for probably about 7 years now, but we had a huge national tour booked, and then quarantine hit or COVID hit, whatever. We're all stuck in our houses, so I had all this gear, obviously all my keyboards, not going on the road, so I was like, fuck it, let's make some music. Sort of just started producing house music for fun. Next thing I know, I have a whole bunch of songs, and I'm like, oh, how do I release these? What do I even do? My girlfriend actually was the one who pushed me to do it. She's like, Chris, just start putting out music. What are you doing? That's kind of how it started.
And tell us about the name, Tetracube.
Yeah, so Tetracube. A tetracube is a 4D analog of a cube, right? A square is 2D, a cube is 3D, and a tetracube is 4D. Tetra is 4.
When you say analog, that confuses me.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know if I fully understand it. When you talk to a mathematician or something, if you look up a picture of it, and it's more easy to understand in a picture, because also we don't see in 4 dimensionals. 4-dimension space. I don't know, but it's a cool word and it's a cool concept. But the origin of it is. One of my favorite breweries, Grimm, in Brooklyn, has a beer called Tesseract, and I wanted to name the project Tesseract, which Tesseract is the same thing as a Tetracube, but it turns out there was a famous metal band named Tesseract, so I was like,
taken.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, yeah. So then I went with Tetracube. It's a cool name. It lends itself to a cool logo, and yeah, there's just I guess you could try and layer in some sort of music living in a 4-dimensional space, or house music is 4 on the floor. I don't know. I try not to overthink it too much.
Yeah, no, that's probably good.
Yeah.
So I'd love to dive into your creative process with hopes that listeners will be able to pull some kind of usable tip, something that they can try at home themselves. So with that in mind, what would you say is one of the more powerful things that you do on a repetitive basis to help you be creative, if there is something? It can be an odd thing.
Right.
That's great.
Right. I don't know if I have a particular thing that I don't necessarily sit and meditate or light a candle or something like that that helps me.
You don't have the same sweatpants you wear when you're creating music?
Yeah, my lucky socks or something like that I put these on, I'm writing a banger. No, I don't have that. I do think just accessibility, having I built out my home studio more since quarantine, got all my keyboards set up all through a mixer, all right into the computer, ready to go at any time, fire up the DAW and you're ready and you're there, right? I think that's the most important thing, accessibility, and just when that idea comes to you, being able to get it out immediately, because they're fleeting, and if you hear a good riff in your head or have a good idea, if you don't get it out then and there, you might lose it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear you comment on this idea. I had a friend of mine mention this to me, that we should all be striving to play music as a child, to actually play, rather than sit down and be trying to construct something.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
So, is there something?
Because I think anytime you sit down, so sometimes I sat down and be I want to make this type of song. It never works that way.
Yeah.
And also, what happens a lot is, I totally agree with the notion of playing. That's honestly, with some of my synths, I just sit there and play and mess around, and then I'm okay, that's something, and then go take it, record it into the DAW, build something out, and then what happens a lot, and it's happening more and more recently, is that first idea doesn't even become the song.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yep.
I work on it, I build off of it, and then I just mute that track, and now I'm on to something else. But then that becomes a song.
Yep.
So it's that one thing that was playing around got you into the program, then it was the catalyst, right? It didn't become the final product. And I've been noticing that a lot, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've had so many tracks that I've started where the initial idea doesn't even end up on the song.
Right.
Like when I end up taking it out, like and muting it, I'm like, oh, I don't even need
You
that.
don't need that, yeah. But I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like that's what got you there, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Is there one song that you really feel most proud of that you created?
Yeah, I would say like some of the new stuff that I've yet to release.
Oh.
I really feel like I'm starting to like find my sound a little bit more. Because the cool thing with Tetracube and the cool thing with like solo projects in general is like it's you and only you, right? You can sometimes I'll make a tech house song, other times I'll make acid house, or I could just make a hip hop song if I fucking wanted to, right? Because there's really no rules to it. But with that said, a lot of these newer tracks that hopefully I'll start releasing soon, are more this like deeper melodic, more like techno rather than house music, I think. All the genres start to blur at a certain point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I'm starting to find a sound. So there's one track that I played today. It's called The Passageway.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one's really cool. I'm proud of that. Another one that I played today called Shine On, which I'm really proud of. And then there's a new one that I actually just finished like this week, and I did play it today. It's called Wake Up, and I think they all sort of have their vibe to it now. You know what I mean? And I think that's what happens with like newer projects is like you just start making songs and you find your sound eventually. I don't know if anyone sits down and no one sits down and just becomes Black Sabbath, right? It was probably a lot of like trial and error until they got to where they are, and it's like, okay, now this is heavy metal or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The follow up I was going to ask was looking back now that you feel like you're starting to find your own sound. How do you feel that came about, or like what tips would you give to other people to try to get to that point?
Yeah. Listening to a lot of music, mm-hmm. and like finding like what sounds you like and see what other people are doing, and then kind of figure out how you fit into that. Like if you like house music, right? Like listen to tons of house music and like, okay, so that's how that guy does it. That's how that guy does it. This is how I think I want to do it, right? Because look, obviously there's new and innovative artists that come out and like make genres, right?
Right.
And that's awesome if you can do that, but it's easier said than done. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think
that's even your goal.
If that's your goal, yeah. Some people, you don't even want to do that, right?
Yeah. Like I've thought about that pretty deeply. Like, what exactly do I want to create? And the truth is, like, I want to create music kind of like the music that I like.
Yeah, right.
You know,
exactly.
Like, and that's
but
genre.
Find your own voice in it, though.
Yes,
you know, yeah,
definitely.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of like I feel like a lot of new genres nowadays are like mostly like crossovers. Right? No one's like inventing jazz nowadays, but you have like like emo rap has become like a big thing in the last few years. Which
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. It's like it sounds like sort of like Blink-182 style like singing over like trap beats, and that's innovative, but it's crossover, right?
Right.
Yeah. Not that I make emo rap or plan to, but you never know. I mean,
so. Quick edit that out because I forgot what I was going to ask you.
That's all good. Let's do like two more.
Yeah, you got it. What are the main characteristics of a really alive piece of music?
I think the drums.
Yeah.
I feel like a song, it doesn't have life unless it has like a good, solid sounding drum kit. It's the backbone of music, really.
Yep.
And especially with house music too. The kick is the driving force. So. Yeah, drums all day. Yeah,
we were talking about this before, but I'll just mention it again. I find myself listening to music and trying to find the groove. Like, what is that part or element of the song that's actually making me move?
Yeah, for sure.
Right, and as I think we chatted about before, that really ends up being the rhythm almost most of the time, or it could be the percussive element or the pattern within a pad or synth.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's less about the string of notes, and I found myself
less about the tonality and more about the rhythm. I agree for sure. Yeah, or like a nice plucky synth that's just driving the rhythm or the bounce of it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or a nice shuffled hi-hat, like anything really. Yeah, rhythm for sure definitely is. I feel like it makes the song come to life. You know what I mean? The melodies are just nice to have.
And without that groove, right? Like without something to move to, or it's making you move, then you haven't really created something.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's tons of great music that actually doesn't even have drums, but it like serves a different purpose, right? You know what I mean? So yeah, but in the music that I like and I make, you need a strong kick.
Yeah, for sure. I think we talked about this as well. So when it comes to the kick, What specifically do you focus on when creating
Yeah,
a kick?
for sure. So I use Splice for getting most of my samples.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the first part's the biggest part, right? Finding a good sample, because if a sample sucks, it sucks. It's like you're not going to EQ a sample into sounding good. But yeah, I don't do anything too fancy once I find a nice sample. Just some EQ, some compression. Yeah, I use Ozone Isotope. So yep, that's
Right now, what's your favorite plugin?
my favorite plugin. I don't know if it's my favorite, but a cool plugin that my buddy Jack told me about. I think it's called like Pumper or something like that, and it just basically mimics the sound of sidechain compression, so you don't actually have to do it.
Pumper, yeah, I actually have that.
Yeah,
it's just a 1 to 10 knob.
Yeah,
it's just one knob.
Yeah, you just throw it and you get the.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sidechain easier.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that plugin a lot. Yeah. All right. As it's pretty cold out here today, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, we're going to go right to the hot mic round. So I'm going to ask you a few quick questions, and we're going to breeze through these. Who's the artist you pull the most inspiration from, and why?
Yeah, I don't know if there is one in particular, but when I started producing house music for Tetracube, I was listening to a lot of Tin Liquor, so I think that definitely sort of drove me into this. That was the headspace I was in coming into this project. I don't know if that's like necessarily the same anymore. I don't know if the music I'm writing necessarily sounds like them, but I think that sometimes the music that is inspirational, it doesn't end up being what the music sounds like itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What is it about Tin Liquor that you like?
I don't know, man. Their mixes are always just so clean, and like they sound big. When music just sounds big.
Yeah. They have such a unique sound. I found myself I have a bunch of their tracks that I've liked on my Spotify list.
Yeah. I like this track I've been listening to a lot from them called Lullaby. You should check that out if you don't know that one.
All right, I'll check it out on the ride home. Next question. What has been the most pivotal moment in your music career so far?
So for Tetracube, there haven't been that many moments since it's a new thing, but I would say like this has been one of the coolest moments.
Oh, that's great.
That I've been able to do. With the DJ project. But besides that, with the band, which I've been playing with for years, was probably like playing the Capitol Theater up in Portchester. It's like a historic venue, so it was just really cool to like be able to play that stage and look out on the crowd from like a big theater stage was cool.
By the way, while we're on that topic, Space Bacon is still continuing as a band. You're just taking a pause because of COVID. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like the whole music industry is sort of taking a pause because of COVID. But actually, funny enough that you asked that, because we actually today just announced that we're working on an album that should be done and out hopefully sometime this spring.
Oh, do you have a name for that?
Yeah, but I think we're kind of keeping it under wraps for now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but it's like a full length, like 16 tracks.
Oh,
should be pretty
that's
sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, literally just announced today.
Oh, very exciting.
Yeah.
Very cool. What is the most impactful thing you do to help yourself be creative?
Put on my lucky socks, first and foremost. I light some candles and I get the mood right. Maybe take a bubble bath.
Scented?
Yeah, scented. No, I don't know if I have one, but I think I had mentioned, we were talking about this before too. I think just like practicing and playing and playing, like you said, like just having fun with it and just sitting down and messing around without a purpose. Like if you sit down and say, I'm going to write a song, it's like, I don't know. Who sits down and says, I don't know, going to write a book or something like that? Or maybe people do. I don't know how people write books.
I like the way you said that, without a purpose. Like if I think back now, like a lot of the times that I've created stuff that I'm really proud of, it came from when I was just playing with no purpose.
Exactly, right. Yeah, who wants to work on a deadline, right? Imagine if like your boss was like, I need this song on my desk by 5 p.m. You'd be like, what? That'd be probably a horrible song that would come out,
It's hard to even imagine.
Yeah.
Looking back, what piece of gear would you have not purchased and why? If you had to pick one.
Yeah. I think I love all the synths and keyboards in my rig. I haven't like really done much like changing and swapping of them, but there is one that I don't use anymore, so maybe it'd be that one. I guess it's the Roland Gaia, and I like the Gaia. Don't get me wrong, but once I got the Access Virus TI, I just didn't really have any need for it, and it's sort of the virus made the Gaia seem like a toy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nothing against the guy. It's a decent synth for a good price. But yeah. So maybe that one.
Okay, fair. Yeah. And the proudest moment you've had as a musician so far? You kind of touched upon.
Yeah, I feel like that maybe the Cap was.
What would be one more?
Camp Bisco maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I've been going to Camp Bisco since I was like in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally getting to play it was like kind of surreal. It was always like a thing like in the back of my mind, like, oh man, playing here one day would be cool. And then it happens, you're like, oh shit, here we are.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So to wrap it up, Space Bacon's coming out with the album in the near future.
Yeah, spring, I'd say.
Okay, and you are you're planning to release something under Tetracube soon. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I have a new release coming out through Downright Dirty Records. My boy Digital Davey runs that label, and it's I think I played 2 of the songs because it's a single, but it like has extended mix and like a remix on it. It's called Swiss Crystal. It's like acid house, and they'll be coming out early April, I think.
Okay. Very cool. Chris,
man.
thank you so much, man. This was an
brother.
awesome day.
Appreciate it.